be here with you guys. I am a yoga teacher of a few different styles. My primary teaching and kind of personal practice is forest yoga. And we'll be touching a little bit on forest yoga today, but mostly because of the time of day, I thought it might be quite nice to do a gentle and slow flow. I also teach other things like prenatal and postnatal yoga. I'm qualified to teach hot yoga, but I don't teach that anymore. So a few things that we can draw on in this practice today. What I would like to know from you, and you don't need to unmute if you prefer to share in the chat, is if you have any injuries that you feel it's important for me to know about, or anything else that you're experiencing today which you feel, will come up in the practice that you think I should know about. Pregnancy is also very useful to know, so I can offer appropriate modifications. And I think that's about it, really. Has everyone done yoga before? Just kind of a little show of hands. Yeah? Okay, cool. So everyone's kind of familiar with some of the basics. Great. Okay. Well, I think we can get started then.
Cool.
Let's do that. So just to let you know, in terms of since this is our first time practicing together, a couple of things. One, absolutely appreciate that you are welcoming me into your home space, which means that you might feel more comfortable having your camera off. I understand that. So if you prefer practicing with a camera off, you're more than welcome to do that. It helps me to see you so that I can pace the practice, but that's not a requirement, okay? The other thing is you're welcome to use any props that you have lying around the house that might help you in the practice. So like books or cushions, or if you own yoga blocks, that could be nice as well. And also my internet connection has been a little bit unstable this evening. So if I do disappear, I will make sure to come back as soon as I can. So I just wanted to let you know in case it causes a little bit of disruption. Okay, so let's get started. So I'd like to invite you all to lie on your back. We'll start in a position called Constructive Rest. And Natalie, if you could maybe mute your mic also because I think the sound gets a little bit, thank you. And anybody else I forgot to ask to mute. Thank you so much. So start in Constructive Rest, which means that the knees are bent, the soles of the feet are on the floor, and the arms are comfortably resting by your sides with the palms facing up or facing down. You might choose the positioning of your hands depending on how your shoulders feel. So if your shoulders feel a little restricted with the palms down, you may want to lift them up so that your chest is nice and open, shoulders are broad. And then from there, we'll just take a few moments to arrive at our yoga space. And this might mean becoming more aware of your breath. In and out through the nose. Throughout this practice, if at any moment it feels good for you to sigh out through the mouth, you're more than welcome to do that. And you're welcome to do that as loudly as feels good for you. You are in your own space at home, so no one can hear you. And from here, you might start to notice the parts of the body that are in contact with the floor, maybe starting at the feet, but you can also start at the head if that's more comfortable. And then you might also notice your upper glutes, maybe part of your sacrum, the mid-back, the upper back, backs of the shoulders, back of the head. And over the next 3 breaths, perhaps take any other movements that will allow you to feel extra comfortable here. Today, I'd like to invite you to explore the concept of practicing with love. So, we are all yoga practitioners here, and what I hear a lot in my community is how much we love yoga, how much we love the practice, which is slightly different to practicing with love, right? There's a quality of showing up for ourselves with love on the yoga mat. And that might mean the way we breathe, it might mean the way that we place our limbs as we move through the practice. So to put this into practice now, I'd like to invite you to bring to your mind's eye someone or something that looks upon you with a loving gaze. It could be a pet, alive or past. It could be a family member, alive or past. Someone for or with whom you share a sense of unconditional love. And as you bring this person to mind, feel for choosing something or someone with whom you don't have complicated feelings. And as that image arises, also notice the quality of attention that arises as well. What does it feel to be looked upon with loving eyes? This is the quality of love that I invite you to cultivate in your practice today. Can you bring that same gaze that someone or something else has upon you to yourself? Take a couple more deep breaths here. Expanding the ribs. And as you exhale, softening the hips, the shoulders, the belly. And when you're ready, we'll start to move very gently. So bring your feet a little bit further, kind of below your knee with the arms resting by your side. This move is called knee drop. And when you're ready, just take your left knee out to the side, about a third of the way down to the floor. So it's a very small movement. Then bring the left knee back to center. And when you're ready, take the right knee out to the side, about a third of the way down. Then back to center. This is one round. We'll continue with this movement, very gentle side to side. And you can start to add in the breath to this. So it might feel nice for you to inhale as you take the knee out, exhale to bring the knee in, or maybe the reverse. Maybe exhale, knee out, inhale, knee in. Just explore which one feels best for you. Then once you've settled onto the breath, just notice this gentle rocking of the pelvis side to side. You might notice the soles of the feet lifting away from the floor, rocking to the outer edges of the feet. Maybe the feet stay down. That's also optional. Can you do this move with this awareness of loving gaze upon yourself? And once you finish the round that you're on, bring the soles of the feet back down, knees pointing up. And we'll add here some knee slides. So on your next breath in, take your left knee all the way out and down to the floor. Once you reach the maximum extension, lengthen the right leg away from you, sliding the leg away. Lift the toes to face up towards the ceiling, then glide the left heel back in as you place the sole of the foot back to its original position. We'll stay on the left leg, so when you're ready, glide the left knee out to the side, lengthen the left leg away. Lift the toes up towards the ceiling so the kneecap points straight up. Then slide the left heel back up. Continue with this move, maybe 3 rounds in your own time, very slowly. This work is really great for our hip mobility, especially now that we're a little bit less mobile in this lockdown. And it can also feel really nice to slow everything down when we're coming to the end of the day. Once you complete your 3rd round, come back to your starting position, settle the hips, and then slowly move on to the right knee down. The outer leg might not reach the floor, that's okay. Then the right leg extends, right toes up, right heel up, sole of the foot down. So a total of about 5 rounds. Going nice and slow. Marrying the breath to the movement, placing your inhales and your exhales wherever it feels good to do so. One of the beauties of moving slowly is that we send this message to our nervous system that this delicious movement is going to last a lifetime. So we allow our parasympathetic nervous system to switch on this rest and digest part of ourselves that keeps us regulated, especially in the midst of kind of more difficult times. When you finish your last round, bring yourself back to your starting point with the soles of the feet on the floor. And from here, lengthen the legs nice and long. We're going to take a banana shape from here with the legs and the arms. The arms will be optional. So when you're ready, take your heels to the left corner of your mat. You might shift your hips a little bit to the right. Then from there, you're welcome to take either the right heel over the left heel or the left over the right. The right over left is the stronger option. So just be mindful of how this feels on your hips. If you like a little bit more, you can take the arms overhead and then banana completely by taking your hands over to the top left corner of the mat. If you'd like a little more there, you can also take hold of the right wrist with the right hand. No, the other way. The right wrist with the left hand. That's it. And take 3 deep breaths here. Feeling for softening through your right hip, your right shoulder. Parting your back teeth so your jaw finds some ease. Breathing in, lengthening the right side of the body. Breathing out to soften. And once you finish, we'll slowly unwind the legs. Come back to alignment of the heels, the hips, the shoulders. Take a pause right there. And when you're ready on your next breath out, take the heels to the opposite corner of the mat, right side. Taking either left heel over the right for a stronger stretch or right over left for a more comfortable stretch, perhaps. If you like to complete this move into the banana or half moon, hands to the right top corner of the mat. Coming back to this idea of practicing with love. And another way of framing this might be, how can you breathe for yourself here? And what does it mean to you to breathe for yourself? Nice. And slowly start to come away from this stretch, moving the legs back to align with the sit bones. Then glide your arms alongside your body. Bend the knees, slide the heels back up so that the soles of the feet come back down to the floor. We'll find a few pelvic tilts from here. So when you're ready, tilt your hip bones so that they move away from your chest and your head. So you're exaggerating the arch of your lower back. And then on your breath out, do the opposite. So move your hip bones further up. Your pubic bone curls up towards the belly button. Lower back is on the floor. And then move between that arching and releasing of the lower back a few times. This is a great massage for the sacrum, the lower back. And from there, come to a place where your spine, or your lower spine, in fact, feels a bit more neutral. The top rim of your sacrum is on the floor, but maybe there's still a gentle arch in the back. Have your arms by the sides with the palms facing up. Root down into your feet and start to curl your tailbone up as you lift the hips. Lift your vertebrae one by one into a bridge pose. Once you reach the maximum expression of your bridge for today, roll your spine back down to the floor, vertebrae by vertebrae. Relax the pelvis down, then inhale, curl up again. Exhale to lower upper back, mid back, lower back to the floor. Let's do one more, rolling up. Exhale to roll down. Good. And once you're back onto the floor, bring your knees up towards your chest, give yourself a hug. Might feel nice here to move a little side to side or stay in stillness if that's where you're at today. You can also draw some circles with the knees. You can point and flex the feet, roll through the ankles, whatever feels good. This is more of a transitional posture to check in with how we're doing. Then from here, we'll come onto hands and knees. And there's a couple of ways that you can do this. If you're feeling like you need more energy right now, you can tuck the chin into the chest. Inhale, roll back. Exhale, roll forward until you build enough momentum to roll forward onto hands and knees. Option to roll over to one side and come up to seated. Then find your way to a tabletop position. Shoulders over the wrist, the hips over the knee. Drawing the belly button gently in towards the spine. This supports your lower back. And from here, on your next breath in, release your right arm. Take it up as you open through the right side of the wings. And exhale, thread the needle, taking your right arm underneath the left armpit. Relaxing the right side of the face onto the floor or onto a block or a book if you need a bit more elevation. Your left hand is in front of the left nose, or you can extend the left arm forward. Whatever feels good for you here. Your hips will stay more or less over your knees. Nice. Then slowly glide the left hand back in front of your nose. Press down into the left hand. Inhale, open back up through the right leg. Exhale, right hand down. And we'll do the same on the other side. In your own time, release the left arm, take it out to the side, and arm reaches up. Good. Exhale, thread the left arm under the right armpit. You'll rest on the outer side of your left arm, more or less. Left side of the face on the floor or on a book. Might feel quite nice here to breathe into the sensation through your shoulder blade, the left side of your ribs. Good. And from here, slowly, slowly, we'll start to come back up. So the right hand is in front of the nose. Find a little weight through the hands and the legs to lift the left arm up. Good. And exhale, left hand down. Let's find a couple of cats and cows here. So having your shoulders over the wrists. On your next breath in, you might explore sending your sit bones up as you lengthen your chest forward. As you exhale, round down, lifting up through the upper back, tucking the pubic bone towards the ankle. And you can move through this cat and cow in any way that feels good for you. Just feeling a little bit more into the spine. You're more than welcome also here to pause anywhere that feels good. Giving yourself a little extra attention wherever you may need it today. You can also change the shape of your cats and cows, wiggling the hips. Good. When you're ready, find your way back to stillness. Walk your hands forwards in front of your shoulders a few inches. Spread your fingertips nice and wide. And tuck your toes for a downward facing dog. Pushing the floor away from you with the hands, lifting the hips up, lengthening through the arms. And might feel quite nice today to keep your down dog fairly gentle with the knees bent. Head is relaxed. And the ears are more or less by the sides of the upper arms. Might feel good here also to pedal through the feet so that the backs of the legs open up a little more. Good. And from here, come back to stillness in your downward facing dog. Inhale, roll forwards into a plank pose. So you might dome your back as you bring the shoulders over the wrist. And then we'll come straight down to the floor. So lower the knees down, bend the elbows back, and bring your chest down. Keep your hands underneath the shoulders, spread the fingertips wide. Inhale, lift your chest up just a couple of inches into the babiest of cobras. Then exhale, lower down, tuck your toes, and come back to a downward facing dog. Nice. And then from here, the next few moves, you're welcome to bring the knees down to step forward into lunge. Or if you prefer, from downward facing dog, you can step the right foot forward and then lower the left knee down. So you can do these moves from a down dog or just bring the right foot in front into a low lunge, okay? Then from there, let's do this. Take your right foot to the outer edge of your mat and have your left hand on the floor or on a book or a block. As you breathe out, turn your chest towards the right leg and then send your right arm up into an easy twisting lunge. This evening, you're more than welcome to relax the left ear down towards the left shoulder if that feels okay for your neck, or you can gaze up towards your right hand. Good. Then from there, bring the right hand down to the floor. And in fact, let's take the right hand onto the right knee for some knee circles. So there isn't like a rule for this. But really, the idea is to get a little bit more mobility again through the hips, so you can very slowly move the hips forwards and draw some circles in one direction and then the other. Nice. And once you find a place where your hips feel nice and stable, we'll lift the torso all the way up and place your hands on your hips. You can explore here a few pelvic tilts again. So from here, the hip bones can move down towards the floor a little more, arching the back, and then the other way. And as you do this, you might feel how one way stretches the front of the thigh, the other way creates a bit more of an arch to the lower back, opens more to the chest. So the idea is just to explore and notice. Good. Once you find a place that feels neutral or feels right for you, you can float the arms up for a moment if that feels good. Taking a breath to expand the ribs, lengthening up. And exhale to lower the hands back down to the floor. Option here for a downward facing dog, or come back to a tabletop position. We'll move on to the other side. So when you're ready, left foot comes forward either from down dog or tabletop. Starting with an easy twisting lunge, right hand down under the shoulder. You can also have your hand on a book. Turning the sternum towards the left as you flow the left. Taking a breath. Then exhale, hand back down to the floor for knee circles. You can have the left hand on your thigh or closer to the knee. And then make these exploratory movements. What I find really delicious about this work is that there's time to kind of feel into our bodies what's going on any given day. And this can give us a lot of information around how we can adjust our patterns during our work day, or how we sleep, or anything else to kind of support our bodies. Nice. And from here, we'll slowly come up. So take your time getting there, lifting up to the chest. Having your hips over your right knee, hands on your hip bones, and then again, finding those gentle pelvic tilts. Interesting things here can be noticed as well. You might notice one hip bone is higher than the other. That's quite common. You might notice your weight shifts more onto one foot than the other. You can make any adjustments that feel good for yourself. And when you're ready, arms can rise up. Telescoping the ribs away from the hips, softening shoulders away from ears. Good. And slowly hands back down to the floor, tug the toes, inhale, step back to your downward facing dog again. Pedal through the feet. And when you're ready, you're welcome to bend your knees, look forward, and take some steps to the front of your mat into a forward bend. You can keep the feet as wide as feels good, the knees as bent as feels good. Allow your torso to drape over your thighs. So absolutely recommended that the knees are bent. You can also shake your head yes and no. You can take hold of opposite elbows, sway a little side to side. And keep a little energy down into the feet so that the legs are still supporting you and your joints are still supporting you. Then if you're clasping opposite elbows, release them down. Energize your core a little bit by drawing the belly button towards the spine. On your next inhale, energize through the legs and feet. Roll up to standing. Crown of the head comes up left. Arms reach up and overhead. in any way that is allowed in your space, so maybe forwards or to the sides. Then exhale, roll all the way back down again, tucking the chin in, rounding through your back, bending the knees. And we'll do that once more. So once the fingertips are closer to the floor, inhale, come up again. Arms overhead. Exhale to roll down. Take your time. There's absolutely no rush. As you come up, the knees can stay bent, belly towards the spine to support lower back. Arms rise above the head. And this time we'll meet with our hands closer towards heart center. You can heel toe the feet a little closer in towards one another. And take a moment in your mountain pose to come back to that loving gaze upon yourself. Whatever that might mean for you. So if you're quite a visual person, you might be visualizing the inspiration for today's practice, person or thing or pet. If you're more of someone who, like a feeling person, you might really just be feeling the sensation, like what it might feel like energetically to be in this space, to be being gazed upon in this way. And from here, we'll come into a couple of standing postures. So shift your weight over to your right foot, and then step your left foot back into a very soft high lunge. So nothing too strenuous. And you can bring your hands onto your hips again here and find those pelvic tilts. You might find that in high lunge, the tilts are smaller than when we have the knee on the floor. There's a little bit less mobility in the hip. And once you're satisfied with an expansive back, arms can rise up. And exhale, open out to the side for a warrior two. So the front toes are still pointing forward. The back toes are pointing to the long edge of the mat or a little further in, depending on how this feels for your knee. Then from here, on your next breath in, turn your palms up, press down into the front foot to lengthen the front. Exhale, lower that arm back down into warrior two. We'll do a couple of those. Inhale, flow the arms in. Exhale, lower the hand down. Last time, inhale to rise. Exhale to come back through a warrior two. Then lengthen the front leg for a very smooth triangle. Reach the right fingertips forward. Right arm, fingertips facing down. The left arm can either be reaching up, or if you're in a bit more of a quiet space today, you can also wrap the left arm around your back if you're not feeling kind of as expressive today. Sometimes having big arms is sign of like, oh, I'm here, big expression. So choose whichever one feels better for you. And then feel for lengthening your ribs away from the hips, gently turning your ribs to the long edge of the mat. And then from there, bend the front knee, come through a warrior two again. Then take your hands onto your hips. This is the last little move here before we move on to the other side. This is called figure eight in a warrior two. Again, no hard or fast rule on this. Imagine that you have a big number 8 painted on your mat and start to trace the outline of that number 8 with your hips. So it looks a bit weird. It might feel a little weird, or it might feel really delicious for your hips. The movement can be super tiny or a little bigger. Nice. And then when you're ready, come back to stillness in your warrior two. Release your left fingertips down and start to pivot on the back toe so we arrive back at a high lunge. We need to come back to our starting point, essentially. Then when you're ready, step forward. Hands can come to heart center or onto hips. Take a moment, notice the difference between your right and left hand. And we'll do all of that on the other side. So shifting your weight to the left foot, right foot steps back. Very gentle high lunge here. Kind of finding your feet. Yeah, finding your rooting. Hands on hips for a few pelvic tilts. Pelvic tilts can be kind of a nice tool to decide what feels better for the back. I always choose how my pelvis sits because I find that as I lengthen my tailbone down, my lower back feels really open and broad. So usually I go for kind of tilting down of the tailbone. And on your next breath in, arms reach up. Exhale into a warrior two. Resetting the feet. Softening through the shoulders. Inhale, turn the palms up, lengthen the front leg. Exhale to soften down. Do this in your own time. If it feels comfortable, you can even close your eyes. What does it mean for you to practice with love, to do each of these moves as an expression of love to yourself? Last one here, turning it into a triangle. So both legs are long. Maybe the back foot needs to heel toe a bit in. Shift the hips back as you crease at the left hip and the left arm. Left arm down to the inside of the leg. Maybe right hand around the back. Maybe reaching up. I quite like to release the left ear down to the left shoulder here, so I also get a kind of neck stretch through the right side. That feels good. And when you're ready, bend the front knee. Coming back through a warrior two, hands on hips for our figurative eight. So just notice how this feels. A little bit strange. It can feel good, especially afterwards when we have more space around the hip joint. Cool. Once you've changed sides a few times, come back through a warrior two. Then slowly turning this into a high lunge, right fingertips. You can gaze down to your fingertips as they move forward and up. And then this time, exhale, hands to the floor. Step back to a downward facing dog. Paddle through the feet. Then on your next breath in, roll forwards onto a plank pose. Very momentarily, just so we can lower back down onto the belly. So you can place the knees down. Slowly, slowly bring your whole body down to the floor. Take a moment in this kind of shavasana on your belly, taking your elbows out to the side, taking one hand on top of the other, heels out to the side, toes in, and just wiggle through the hips, shimmy side to side. And when you're ready, we'll come over onto our back. Any way that feels good for you. Once you're on your back, you can bend your knees in again. And for our last warm down before coming to rest, I'd like to offer, let's do pigeon on the back. So starting with the right leg, bend the right knee and place the outer right ankle on top of the left thigh. Take a moment there, pause, assess how this feels for your hip. You can stay here. If you would like a little more sensation, you can bring your legs towards your chest. It might be an interesting exploration. What does it feel to have more sensation? And is having more sensation an act of practicing with love? Or is that more around how can I feel more intensity? I'm definitely guilty of the latter. Just share. You might approach this pigeon on the back with a softness around the belly. And sending the breath into the belly so that the lower back gets a massage as the hip stretches. You can also find a little movement side to side. Again, doing things that feel good for your body. And from there, release your arms to your sides and slide your right leg over your left leg. So you are in a kind of knee pile, or if you're familiar with cow face, like cow face pose, your toes are pointing to opposite sides. And then from there, you're welcome to take your knees up towards the chest and take either your outer shins or your outer feet and very slowly take them away from each other and also in towards your chest. It's a little bit of a stronger stretch around the hip, outer hip. Just a couple breaths. And slowly release. Place the soles of the feet back down to the floor. Take a moment to notice. Then switch sides. Left knee up towards chest, outer left ankle on right side. Option to stay here. Or you can draw the knees up towards the chest, threading left arm between the legs, taking hold of back of the thigh or shin. Coming back to a softness around the belly. As the belly softens, might encourage the tissues around the left hip to also soften. Then half knee pile from here. You can release the arms for a moment and slide the left leg over the right leg, feet pointing in opposite direction. And you can draw the knees closer towards the chest, grab hold of outer shins or outer lower legs, or the outer edges of the feet, or the inside edges of the feet. Drawing the knees a little closer in towards the chest. And maybe feet away from one another. And slowly release when you're ready. Unwind the legs, soles of the feet on the floor. Take your feet to the outer edges of your mat. And now we'll very slowly windshield wipe the legs. So in your own time, you're more than welcome to drop both knees down to one side. Most probably won't reach the floor. And back to center, and then the other side. So it's a releasing of the hips and also a gentle twist. Again, placing the breath where it feels good for you. If you'd like to pause anywhere, you're welcome to do that. Once you feel satisfied from this move, bring the knees back up. Draw the knees back in towards the chest. Give yourself a little hug in stillness or with gentle movements of the knees, rocking side to side or forwards and back. And the last move before Shavasana is optional. You can have a happy baby with the soles of the feet up if happy baby feels good for your hip creases, your hip flexors. About a year ago, this pose started to feel not so good for me. So the option instead of happy baby can also be Baddha Konasana on your back with the soles of the feet together, the knees out to the side, which my hip flexors seem to like a little more these days. You can choose either of these two or anything else that feels good. Have the lower back on the floor. And perhaps it might feel good to start to lengthen your exhale. Good. And when you feel satisfied, feet can come down for our final relaxation. Options in relaxation. If you are close to a wall and your lower back feels like it needs a bit more support, you're welcome to take your legs up the wall. If you have cushions, you can also extend your legs long and support the backs of your knees with cushions. That can also be really delicious. You can also choose to have no prop and lengthen the legs out long or keep the knees bent. As you come to relaxation, a couple of things that are really supportive when you come to rest are darkness, so maybe dimming your lights or placing something over your eyes, and warmth, so making your body warm with blankets or socks. We'll stay here for a couple minutes, so allow yourself to fully surrender onto your space. If it feels supportive, you can go into relaxation with this quality of love, this energetic sense enveloping the whole of your being from head to toe. Allowing yourself to be enveloped by this blanket of loving energy. Which can also feel secure, comfortable, and ease. We'll start to invite you all to come out of Shavasana, of rest. If you feel like you would like to stay here for a little longer, you're more than welcome to, and I will close the practice. But what I would ask you is that you let me know in the chat box or giving me a wave to let me know that you want me to stay lying down, okay? For everyone else who is ready to come up, start to find some movement through the fingertips and the toes, maybe a stretch. There's absolutely no rush. And when you're ready, you can roll over to one side, come up to seated. And once you're seated, you can rest your hands anywhere on your body that feels good. They can be on your lap. They can kind of come towards the center of your chest in any position that feels good. Taking a moment to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Thank you for joining me in this first practice. I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Have a wonderful evening.